Hi, I'm Jim Moore, and in today's episode we're going to be discussing communication and how we communicate with our horses. Our job as horsemen is to speak their language. They can't speak ours, we have to speak theirs. And that's what we're going to focus on today in Cowboy Bootcamp. Before I show you how to communicate with your horses, I want to talk a little bit with you about the psychology of the horse. It's so important to understand this one statement, and if you can grasp this one statement, everything else will fall into place. And that is, the only reason why a horse is on this planet is they are a food source. They are a food source for mountain lions and bears and wolves. And on every continent on this planet, these magnificent animals have at least one predator. And as a prey animal, they see the world differently. And we need to be able to communicate with them that makes them feel safe. Let them understand what we're asking them to do. And we're going to demonstrate that with you right now. We're going to demonstrate the proper seat position that you have in the saddle on the back of that horse. Chris is one of our boot campers, and what you see right here is you want a nice straight line from the top of your head, through your shoulder, through your hip, to your heel. A lot of people have a tendency when they're riding to sit improperly because they have not been trained. They end up sitting on the back of that horse and become basically dead weight. You'll see there's a nice straight line from her head, through her shoulder, to her hip, to her heel. That's what I'm looking for. Now, what happens to a lot of young riders and new riders is they get into that fetal position, they lean forward, they squeeze tightly to get their horses to go, they're holding onto that saddle horn, and everything that you're doing is telling that horse to go faster and to go forward. When you're on the back of that horse and when you're in that saddle, there are three positions in that saddle, and all three of those positions mean something different to the horse. So Chris, what I'd like for you to do would be to, if you will, get into the number one position and push your horse forward. So squeeze your legs and move forward. Now what you saw was a very, very slight cue, because all she had to do was ask her horse what to do. Now if you'll see what she's doing now, Chris is backing the horse up. So if you'll do that again by tucking your pockets up underneath her, she will back that horse up. Good. If I want to move the front end of the horse, I move my leg forward. If I want to move the back end of the horse, I move my foot back here, because you have three parts of this horse: the front part, the barrel of the horse, and the hip. The back end of the horse is his engine. So if there's any part that I need to engage or disengage, it's always right back here. Keep in mind, where we want to grip our horses is right here on the inside of our thighs. It's right here. A lot of people think that that's what will give the horse the cue. If I want her to come back this way, you'll notice she's pressing with the leg from the knee down. It's the calf of the leg that gives the cues. It's also the heel. Now you'll notice she is wearing spurs, and spurs are just an extension of your foot. So if I want to turn my horse this direction to wrap that horse around me, I'm going to ask Chris to move his hindquarters that direction and bring his head this way. So if I want to move his head, I have to move his back end. So Chris will now demonstrate how she can bring him back over here to a side position by just bringing his butt over. Keep in mind, we ask them first, they don't respond, we tell them, and then if we don't respond, then we have to make them, because if we don't, they're learning every time that we don't follow through with our request, they are learning, well, you didn't mean it. So when you do mean it, they may not respond. Thank you very much for joining us here at Cowboy Bootcamp. I hope you learned a little bit about how to communicate more clearly with your horses, because let's face it, after all, as horsemen, we want to have a good, clear communication with our partners, and that's what we want. So thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you on the trail.